Your circuit breakers, they're supposed to prevent a fire and trip if there's an overload or short circuit. But what if they don't? There's an electric panel that could be in thousands of homes in South Florida that might not work as it's supposed to. It could even start a fire. Consumer watchdog Jenn Strathman puts it to the test.
Here's the panel.
Michael Fazio never thought much about his electric panel until he was ready to pack up and sell his Boca Raton home.
They suspect that panel to cause fires.
A home inspector alerted him to the potential fire hazard.
If I had known, 20 years ago, I would have replaced it right away.
Michael has a Federal Pacific electric stab lock circuit breaker.
My life had gone up in flames.
And so did this Central Florida home. Investigators believe the FPE breaker was the cause of the fire.
It failed miserably.
The insurance industry feels these panels are risky enough that most won't issue a policy if you have an FPE breaker.
There's a safety factor that you can't ignore.
Problems first surfaced in the 80s when the company told the government some of the breakers may be defective. But the Consumer Product Safety Commission never determined if the breakers posed a safety risk, so they're still in homes today.
Would you have one of these breakers in your home?
Absolutely not.
Master electrician Mike Pendle set up a demonstration to show us what he means.
There's no way to really test it until there's a fire.
Unless you remove the breaker and test it then. A non-FPE breaker is on the right.
These panels are about the same age.
And the FPE breaker is on the left. Pendle says he's seen these breakers fail to trip or shut off when the system is overloaded.
The trip is a safety mechanism.
Correct. We ready to go?
At Palm Beach State College Fire Training Academy,
I'm just going to go ahead and turn these heat guns on.
Pendle overloaded the system like you might if you turned on too many appliances at once.
As the wire heats up, the breaker is going to sense that and shut down the circuits.
The non-FPE breaker trips in 30 seconds. But the Federal Pacific breaker on the left stays on 2 minutes longer.
Wire in here? There you go.
Do you think that trip too late?
Oh, absolutely.
In another test, using a different FPE breaker, the non-FPE breaker trips quickly. Minutes later, the FPE breaker is still hot. Red hot. The wires feeding it are over 100 degrees.
We got 104 on that one wire.
You don't want that to get hot.
It takes 5 minutes and 43 seconds.
You're home. Oh, there you go.
For the FPE breaker to trip.
For that breaker not to trip for 5 minutes is unbelievable.
In government testing, some FPE breakers did not trip, but it wasn't enough for the CPSC to link it to a hazardous situation.
I think this is an issue that needs attending to.
Ann Brown is former chairman of the Consumer Product Safety Commission. She took office after the agency wrapped up its 2-year investigation into the breakers.
The insurance companies are not insuring homes that have these defective circuit breakers. It calls for an investigation.
The CPSC discontinued its investigation in the 80s, citing funding problems, and refused to reopen it again in 2011, leaving homeowners to decide if the risk is worth it.
The scariest thing about these is it might trip 10 times, and then one time it doesn't, and it only takes one time for there to be a fire.
These breakers are common in homes built between 1950 and the late 80s. Look for a red handle or a sticker that says Federal Pacific Electric. If you have one and want to replace it, the typical cost is around $1,500. I'm Consumer Watchdog Jenn Strathman, fighting for you.